Well, hello again everyone, and welcome back to another video from the Canal Sidings Model Railway channel, and this one features a further update to my North Grove layout. Not much progress made on top of the baseboard this time. Essentially what I've done is added this little bit of back scene here that you can see, which is a photograph of a fairly modern building that I got from Google Images, and I just sort of set it to about the right size and positioned it on the back scene to try and make it look as if it was a reasonable distance away from where we are here. I may have got it a little bit too high, but the camera does tend to make it look as if it's on a hill, and I may have actually got that too high. However, what I wanted was the bit along here. I want to put a security fence at the end of the TMD with bushes and weeds and stuff all the way along. So I didn't want to completely obscure that building with them. So I've made it that high. I have to say that looking from the side and just noticing it there, rather than actually staring at it, which is what the camera's tending to do, it probably does look better than it does in the picture. But we'll see. I'm not sure whether I got the perspective exactly right, but I'm fairly happy with it off camera, even though I'm not so convinced about it on camera. Other than that, I have done nothing to the scenery. All the work between the last video, when I added quite a bit of detail, and this one has been achieved either there or under the baseboard. There's just one more telltale sign that you can see that you couldn't see before, or didn't see before. I'll just move the camera position a little so that we can see it better, and just zoom out a little bit. Just turn the camera around and perhaps zoom out a little bit further. There you go. Okay, what you can now see is that I have, along the front here, I have a piece of plastic card stuck to the wood. My normal method, as you can see on this piece, which is up to there, is the top of Canal Sidings. My normal method is to use matte black paint. But that wasn't going to work on here because the top 10 or 12 millimeters, I'm not sure, is actually a piece of cork followed by the edge of a piece of plywood, which is not perfectly straight, and then the plywood facing the side of a piece of plywood. Didn't look very nice, so I chose to stick plastic card on here, and that's what this is. I used 20 thou plastic card. I would probably have been better off using 40 thou, because this has rippled a little bit, and in some places, just here, the glue has actually deformed the plastic card into slight ripples. The glue I used was EvoStick Impact Adhesive, the original EvoStick Impact Adhesive, which is the one that's full of nasty solvents. I tried the solvent-free one and found it absolutely useless in the past, so I went for the one with solvent in it. What I've also done is, as you can see, I have put some switches in the panel. And this is my non-control panel. So it's not a panel, it's just the controls for the layout distributed all along the front. These two switches here, these two here, and two more here control the points. So that one controls the three-way, that one controls the double slip, and that pair controls the other three-way. Then further down that way, there, which you can't see, there are 4 more switches which control the lights in the buildings, as you can see. that's the lights, and that one is the pit lights. And there are two more that actually aren't connected to anything yet. This one here is going to control the signal that allows exit from the shed, not entrance to. And then further down that way there are another 3 switches which will control the other shed and other things. So all we need to do now really is tip the whole thing up and have a look at how I actually wired it all up. If you don't like wiring, sorry, but we will do a running session afterwards. So I'll be back soon. Okay, what we're looking at now is the baseboard itself, and if I move around you can see that one end of the baseboard is up there, the other end of the baseboard is there, and we're looking at the underside of it. I'll just turn that back to where I think it should be, and we are looking at the front up there, and this is the back with the foam, and this is the back seat, and the back seat is below the foam, which you can't actually see in that shot. So the way I've wired it up is we have a 12 volt bus, which is this one, which is red and black, and we have a track bus, which is this one, which is purple and pink. All the dropper wires are purple and pink, and they simply come out where they are in the baseboard and join to the nearest point on the purple and pink wires. This is also a dropper wire, but it's black because it's single core, because I had to solder it to the side of the rail, and I didn't want to use multi-core because it's such a mess on the side of a rail. The buses are tensioned at each end of the layout. Again, if I just move this to here, you can just there and there see the tensioners. You can see that the wires just go nowhere after them, and all they are is a piece of 60 thou, I think it is, plasticard with a couple of holes drilled in it, and screws screwed into the baseboard, and then you simply pull the wire and do the screw up, and that holds the wire taut. And there's a pair right down the other end as well, which I don't know if you can see, which is the end at which the power comes in, and there are 2 4-pin DIN plugs down there, sorry, DIN sockets, and they're wired up such that if you put the plugs in the wrong ones, no power gets to either bus. The 12 volts uses pins 1 and 2, and the DCC track bus uses pins 3 and 4, so they just don't contact if you plug them in the wrong place, which makes it relatively safe. You're not going to put 12 volts on the locos, but much more importantly, you're not going to try and drive the servos with the track voltage. Okay, now what we've got here, we come back to where we originally were. As we said, we've got the track dropper wires going to the DCC bus, and to the 12 volt bus we have the connections to anything that requires 12 volts. So here we have a black and a red that go to one of the servo control boards. This one controls 2 servos, being these 2 up here. And also going into the back of that board are these wires, the yellow, green and black, which come from up here from these 2 switches. So if I operate this switch, this servo will go and back, and if I operate this switch, this servo will go. And the servos have got their micro switches on, and their micro switches are connected by a blue wire back to the crossings or frogs of the points. Here's one of the blue wires, here's the other one. That's a 3-way point, so the frogs and crossings are down that end. And then there's a pink and a purple that go to the track bus such that the correct polarity can be fed to that crossing stroke frog, depending upon the position of the point blades controlled by the servo. So that's how the servos work. And down here, if we just spin around again, you can just see hiding in the corner there the other servo board, which controls 4 servos. This one, this one, this one and this one. This pair are the double slip, and this pair are the other 3-way point. Now, to make the double slip easy to operate, I haven't actually lined up the switches with the correct point tie bars on the board. These switches, effectively the tie bars for the points are here and these are here, but in fact this servo is driven by that switch and this servo is driven by that switch, and the reason for that is because it makes the double slip easier to understand the position. It's all down to using the switches to mark the inlet stroke outlet road from the double slip. There are 2 inlets and 2 outlets, so the switch specifies the upper or the lower or the left or the right inlet at each end. So if they're like that, you go straight across. If they're like that, you go straight across the other way. If they're like that, you go round this way. If they're like that, you go round this way. It just makes the double slip so much easier to set up. And so far I've always managed to set it up in the right way. I've occasionally forgotten to set it all together, but I've never set it up the wrong direction. So it does seem to make it easy to operate the double slip. The other thing that you can see here is just here we have the inspection pit with its 2 PCBs, which you've seen before. It's very small PCBs, which resistors, and if I flick its switch, you can probably just see the lights come on. Certainly if I turn you around a little bit the other way again, oh no, you still can't see them. There are a pair of the bulbs on the end are sat here, but you can't quite see them, which is a shame. But certainly that does operate the inspection pit, and if I operate it a few more times it's off, on. I can probably show it to you if I turn this light off. Now we can probably see it better. Yes, there, now you can see it. That's a switch at this end. It's this switch. It's this switch right at the end here. I'll turn the flood lamp back on again to light up the board better. Okay, so basically that's the wiring, and that's the job that I've been doing for most of the time since the last video. What I have to do also with the wiring, oh by the way, there's a connection there which is one of the connections, 12-volt connections from the switch to the building, and there's another one down here which I think you might be able to see, yep, which is the negative connection to the building. That goes straight to the 12-volt bus bar. This one comes in via a switch up here. So you can see how simple everything really is under there, and nothing gets in the way of anything, which is useful. The next job with that is when I lay the rest of the track is way up there somewhere, and I don't know where, probably running through that cross member. I will need to put the other 2 inspection pits, but exactly, obviously it won't be at the bottom, it'll be at this side of the cross member because this is the front of the layout, but that is when I lay the next bit of track, which hopefully will be one of the next jobs to be done now. Get the rest of the track down, get the other shed building in place, and get a bit more electrics done, get all the hard standing around that shed sorted, and also see if the outdoor track has any chance of me being able to fit a washing plant on it, a loco washing plant. Don't know whether that's going to be possible, but as I'm now not going to fit a secondary fueling plant down that end, then a washing plant may well be an option. And Bachmann do one, and I'm sure I can get hold of one of those if I need one. So that's the method. The switches, by the way, are actually fitted. What I did was I fitted the piece of plastic card first, which you can just see at the top. Tip you up a bit and you can see a little bit better perhaps. Tip you up like that. Okay. Now up here is the plastic card. Sorry. So up here, I can't reach. Up here is the plastic card. And what I've done is I drilled right through the plastic card with a 20mm spade bit all the way through to here, which allows the switches to be recessed in that 20mm hole. I then painted the wood inside that hole black to match the plastic card, and then underneath here I fitted a piece of 60 thou black plastic card which the switch is mounted in, and that mounts the switch in the centre of the 20mm hole. So the switches are very well recessed and won't get knocked about too much, but are still, as you've seen and will see in the next section of the video, very easy to operate. So that's enough waffling about how the points are wired and how the electrics are all done so far on the layout. The next thing is let's have a mini running session to wind up the video. So I'll be back soon. And finally in this video I thought we'd end with a short running session. The reason? Because finally we can. So without further ado, I'm going to run 2 or 3 locos, some of which you've seen before, one of which you haven't, and then I'll wind the video up. Okay, as you saw there, we have our first sound loco, the Class 66, which is actually a brand new version from Bachmann with sound already fitted. I haven't run it in yet, and I'm hoping the motor noise is going to get a bit quieter when I have, because it hums like mad to start with. If I just give you an example without its sound on. That's on speed step 1. I think that's unacceptably loud. I'm hoping that that'll get better when it runs in. Not convinced though. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed the rather random and haphazard running session. There are not many sidings that I can use and not many locos. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you with the next video as soon as I can. Bye.